Yeah, no rush, I guess, but yeah, sure.
Sure. All right, well, welcome everyone to Filecoin Core Devs call number 45. This is meeting 2, and today is Thursday, the 16th of June. As always, a relatively light agenda in terms of updates. We'll have updates from all 3 implementation teams and also from the Filecoin Foundation. Briefly touch in on current thinking around version 16 and version 17 network upgrades. And then Alex North will jump into some updates that he and the Crypto NetLab team are working on as well. So first, Forest and Lotus have been working pretty much hand in hand to complete all of the built-in actor testing and preparing for the V16 mainnet upgrade. CalibNet was upgraded today successfully, which is great. So testing is ongoing. But Jennifer also reported out some of the final findings of the consensus-led audit of the FVM. Everything's great, good to go. No open concerns or issues or even bugs that need to be addressed in the interim. And really no other work ongoing other than really focused on the upgrade. Any questions that you'd like me to relay to either the Forest or Lotus team? I think especially from you, Stephen, not sure.
No, I think, yeah, the focus is still on the version 16. Yeah, it's quite fine.
Sure. Do you want to go ahead and give your update?
Sure, yeah. From the beta side, as I just mentioned, our focus is on the network version 16, and we have done all the integration into, for all the components of Velas, we upgrade all of them to be compliant with network version 16, and we have done the testing with Butterfly. And yeah, I think from next week and perhaps Monday we'll start the calibration testing. We hope everything will goes well. Actually, we're expecting that it will be going well, is because we have done all this testing Butterfly and it works very good. And we also work on some other paths, for example, the Velas market, which is already used in some by some storage providers, and we fixed some bugs. Some of them are the user messages or something like that, to make it better for users. And we also developed a hardware probe tool for storage providers, so that they could use this tool to detect their hardware, and we could have a recommendation for them how to configure the system and to make the hardware can be better used to have better efficiency. So next we'll move on for the network version 16 testing and to prepare for the mainnet upgrade. And another thing we're still working on is about the FM early builder for the QFM SDK, which is actually we have 2 dedicated engineers working on this, and last week we add some actors to test the SDK, including the ERC20 and token to use this tool and SDK to test. And also we have some tool to build on that for the code generation and some other sample projects, which is moving on, which is on track, I would think too. Okay, great. That's all for betas.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm also going to be meeting with Joss and I think a few other members of the Venus team in a couple of hours to talk through some of the planned enhancements over the coming months so that we can add it to the refreshed community roadmap also. So that'll be great.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much.
Great. All right. Then no big changes from the foundation side. There's no security issues to flag at the moment. Parth is continuing to run the bounty board without issue. Alex, thanks for pushing some changes to FIP35. We saw those go in and flagged them for this morning's call as well. And I think until we get through version 16, we're not really thinking about moving or accepting any new FIPS in the interim. None are ready to be accepted or move into that last call phase, but also we shouldn't expect to see a lot of changes either way. The biggest amount of work that's coming in sort of the governance lane has to do with finalizing that FRC language and getting a standard template for FRC proposals as well. So going back and forth and trying to figure out whether it's best to create a FIP for this or just provide an update to FIP 1, which will also need to be reviewed. But as soon as we have that, then we'll work on using the index or advertisement protocol and the boost protocol as the first FRC documents for the network also. Any questions? All right.
Nope.
Cool. And as a note, we've already talked about this last time, and I have documentation written up that just needs to get posted to GitHub. But we're going to, once V16 goes live on July 6th, we're going to be changing the format of the core devs call a little bit again. I think right now what we're looking at is reducing the schedule to be monthly for a full hour. And again, moving away from this sort of rote update layout to doing more scheduled discussions and deeper dives into not only FIPS, but other development priorities and enhancements that are ongoing. So that, again, the meeting is fresh and becomes a little bit more engaging for a broader audience also. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And it will also be included in this week's governance update, since I know there wasn't one last week. All right, so checking in, there's no changes to current network planning. CalibNet was upgraded this morning, which is great. And we expect fully confirmed mainnet to be upgraded in an early morning epoch on July 6th. So mark your calendars. That's it. Any questions or concerns?
No, I think it's yeah, it's okay. We have a date right now, yeah, which is very good. July 6th is yeah, we have almost 3 weeks for the testing and to prepare for the mainnet upgrade. It's good. Good.
And in the past, Stephen, for you in particular, I know we've done sort of upgrade retros during core devs calls after the upgrade. This time we're going to do it a little bit differently because of how closely the Lotus and Forest teams have been working in order to get all of the active testing done. Zen, one of the engineers, has scheduled a retro for them, and I've asked that they expand it to include us also. So there will be one single technical retro that will happen, I think mid-July, that we'll all be invited to, and we are going to move that out of the core devs call to accommodate the new format also. So be on the lookout for the meeting invite.
Okay, sure.
And so then for network V17, I think we're going to move to sort of soft finalize some of this information at the next core devs call. But right now, it definitely seems like the priority is for a large, pretty FIP heavy upgrade on a longer timeline. This is opposed to what Jennifer had suggested, which was a very, very small and limited scope community upgrade. There's simply too much work that needs to happen. It didn't seem very valuable for us to go through an entire upgrade cycle without shipping some high impact FIPS. And so we have some potential FIPS. These are just an example of what may be included in the next upgrade. Again, not confirmed, and Alex will defer to you in your presentation of what CryptoNet Lab is working on to sort of help with this prioritization also. So without further ado, you want to jump in and you can let me know when to switch slides?
Sure thing, thank you. Great, so yeah, I and the team have been working towards a bunch of improvements that are sort of slightly outside of the scope of the core FVM development, but improvements to either the FVM's capabilities or to things that we're going to build inside the FVM with the scope, with the mission of improving their programmability of Filecoin once the FVM allows user contracts. So this includes both general improvements, general capability improvements, as well as specific changes to the built-in actors to enable them to interoperate better. So if we move on to the first slide. So there are two sort of distinct streams of effort. Here they've been sort of a bit merged, and I'm attempting to separate these two streams for sort of clarity, to understand what the goals are. So the first stream of effort has been ongoing for most of this year, although it paused a little bit while we focused on the FVM itself in the past quarter. But it's a specific focus on enabling programmability of storage markets. And so it's specifically around changing how actors can interact with the miner actor and with the content that is stored inside sealed sectors to enable them to act as, a simple way is to enable them to act as storage markets and enable them to act as a broker between a storage client and a storage provider to provide a marketplace and the payment mechanisms and policies and whatever else marketplace might want to provide. But marketplace is a sort of an overly specific term here. And we mean to include all kinds of ways by which a provider might get specific content into a sector. And so that includes something like a bounty, for example. A bounty is a specific type of marketplace where the client is open to any provider taking the data and offers a specific form of payment. And similarly, I can imagine the kinds of programmability on top of this to enable perpetual deals and renewal of deals and programmability around replication and automated policies to manage the storage of data for many pieces of data across many providers and for many different sort of policies that clients or organizations representing clients might want to have. So most of the design work for this stream has already been done. There's still some detailed design and implementation work to go, and there'll be a bit more detail in a moment. The second stream is a more general focus on FVM capabilities, not specific to storage markets, but for all kinds of applications that we might be building on the FVM. And so the focus here is capabilities of the FVM and standards for interoperability between actors, so that we can get the kind of composable building block thing that's going on in many other blockchains, where it's very easy for actors and contracts to build on top of each other to create ever more powerful applications. Next slide. Okay, so diving in a little bit to the storage markets stream, there's a link here, obviously not clickable in the Zoom recording, but this link is to the CryptoNet Lab, a page in the CryptoNet Lab notebook, which is publicly available. And there's a screenshot of it in the next slide. So the goal of the storage markets theme is to enable alternative, fully capable storage markets to be programmed by end users. My personal mission is to replace is for the built-in storage market to eventually become irrelevant, because people build better storage market applications as user-programmed contracts, and the fact that there is one that's sort of a special privileged built-in actor no longer becomes an important part of the sort of ecosystem of storage deal making on Filecoin. I expect and hope there'll be many markets, and they'll have very different features, a very wide variety of features, a wide variety of policies that they offer to clients and providers, a wide variety of implementation techniques that might be more or less efficient, or make different trade-offs between features and efficiency and cost. And so as part of this, I also expect that the flip side of there being a wide variety of things is that we still want things to be interoperable and composable, so that people can build higher level applications across that span multiple markets. And so as part of this, I'll also be looking to develop standards or standard API, standard representation specifically around storage deals, so that we can then have deal aggregators and have replication mechanisms that can use multiple different marketplaces and so on. Some of these will be emergent, but we're going to have a go at proposing some initial approaches. And then finally, improving Filecoin Plus. And in fact, in sequence, it's probably going to come that we work on improving support for Filecoin Plus first, and then that opens up some of the design space to then decouple the built-in storage market from the miners. And so we want to improve the support for Filecoin Plus, add to its capabilities, add to the on-chain capabilities that the mechanism has. And then ideally, this also opens up the design space for other storage incentive schemes. Filecoin Plus is an incentive scheme for storing of useful data that's built into the protocol. But I'd like to support other incentive schemes that are not necessarily built in, but built as user land contracts, and have those also be able to rely on guarantees from the miners about the duration of commitments to storage and so on. Next slide. Okay, here is the sequence of work that I believe is ahead of us to reach this utopia of fully programmable storage markets. A lot of this is already in progress, and so you can see this is roughly in sequence that these things need to happen. A couple of these are already FIPS that are awaiting acceptance. I guess some of them are in final implementation. I think we the ones that are marked there as final implementation, I think we have the design right. The final implementation may uncover minor variations, but we're fairly confident here. And so we've talked earlier about in previous meetings about changing the pre-commit deposit to make that standard rather than depend on the content of a sector. The second item there is a change that doesn't change functionality, but changes APIs in preparation for the eventual refactor. That's the last item down here, while preserving backwards compatibility. So it's a smoothing over to help us get over what's eventually going to be an API change for end users. Beneficiary address we've talked about earlier from Stephen's team. Actors as deal clients. So this is a change to the built-in storage market to enable any actor to act as a client of a deal. Right now, you must have a private key on a wallet somewhere to create a storage deal. No one can create an actor that makes storage deals. That's why I aim to fix that. And then these last two, so all those first four are relatively small changes, all ready for implementation, basically. The last two are larger, sort of 2 steps towards changing the relationship between these actors, ready to enable third-party storage markets. The first one is to decouple the tight relationship between the Filecoin Plus verified registry and the built-in storage market actor, so that other storage market actors that are programmed by other people can also broker Filecoin Plus deals. The design for this is relatively set. I believe that Zenground from the Lotus team has put his hand up to implement this in beginning soon. So yeah, the next step for this is the implementation. It's marked there as like prototype implementation, just because we do expect that we'll learn some things about the shape of the solution during this implementation, which will then inform the FIP, and we'll then propose the formal FIP after we're confident enough about the change from that sketch. But then that prototype will just evolve into the final implementation in place. This is in consideration so this is on deck for consideration in Network v17. Maybe we want to get a little bit into the implementation before we can make a call as to how long it's going to take. But I'm very excited about the fact that we might get this in. The final re-architecture is a bigger change. Right now, my expectation is we probably won't get this in for Network version 17, although it's possible if things before it go really well. That final re-architecture does cause an API change to sort of all external parties, people who make deals. It changes the API for miner operators operating their miner, but achieves the final decoupling that enables someone to write a third-party storage market that can still rely on the built-in storage miner actors for commitments about what data is stored when, so we can broker payments and enact whatever policy it wants to as a marketplace. So right now that the early design for that has been done. Detailed design needs to wait for a little bit more certainty from some of the earlier changes.
I just want to quickly note too that Jennifer commented on the decoupling Filecoin Plus from markets this morning, and it sounds like if Zen is leading sort of the FIP and implementation design, it sounds like a lot of the Lotus team is also helping with that and also helping with testing. And so I think this FIP in particular is going to be the one that really defines scope for V17. So it sounds like this one and all above. So all except for the refactoring are possible. And I guess my question then, and I can save this to the end if you prefer, but the scope of refactoring, I don't have a very good understanding of. And I wonder if that's something that can also be implemented with M2 and V18, or if it necessarily is a prerequisite.
Yeah, good question. I think I'm open at the moment. It certainly could be implemented with M2 for V18, assuming that's the version that ends up targeting. It conflicts a little bit with what would otherwise be a hope to not change too much other stuff at the same time as opening up user programmability. We have to make a call about the risk-reward trade-off of doing that. Yes, timeline-wise, I think we certainly could line it up for V18. It's more about a decision about whether we want to do that at the same time. If we don't, I don't think it's the end of the world if it slips to a post M2 update. It's a opportunity cost that we can't have these kind of things built until then. But I believe we can make some relatively minor other changes to sort of the APIs that are exposed by the built-in actors to ensure that we don't lock ourselves out of it and that we leave space for implementing that after M2.
Sounds good. All right, thanks.
Cool. Next slide then. So just briefly, this is the other stream of work. The goal of this other stream of work is to improve FVM's built-in support for modern smart contract applications. And so really, what's behind these word modern smart contract applications is that the world has learned a lot from Ethereum and other blockchains about how we wish Ethereum had been designed in the first place. Now that people have tried to build lots of things on top of it, and so there are quite a few proposals that have come from Ethereum and other chains about different or new capabilities that they wish they had, that in many cases, in Ethereum's case, it's too late and they have too much, because they have a huge amount of already deployed contracts. They can't break compatibility with deployed contracts. And so they're rather limited in how many of these they can directly realize. But we have a unique opportunity here before there are any third-party contracts, and we can create, we can affect in-place upgrades to the built-in actors through network upgrades. We can change some of these things, and then developers in the future can enjoy those benefits. So it's two bits, yeah. So improving built-in support, and then guiding standards for interoperable actors. The world of standards sort of inside the EVM, so ERCs, your token standards, the APIs that are used between contracts to talk to each other, has had a similar kind of learning from experience. And so just to take ERC20 as an example, there are many thoughts for how a better token API than ERC20 could be built. And we have an opportunity here, because there are no ERC20 tokens on Filecoin yet. We have an opportunity to define a better standard for the native tokens that are built into directly against the WASM runtime, a more powerful and more capable token standard, and safer token standard as well. Obviously, things that run EVM code embedded in Filecoin will still use ERC20 inside the EVM, and we'll have to bridge between them. But there's no way for us to have perfect compatibility between those anyway. There would always have to be some translation layer. Next slide. Here is the work plan for this as I see it at the moment. There's probably a bit more uncertainty about here because we're still discovering new ideas. There's still more to be learned here. And so a lot of these, you can tell, are in much earlier stages. I'm trying to get the discussion posts for all of these out into the public, so that these ideas can be taken into consideration as the FVM early builders are building things, and as the FVM team are settling on their scope for M2. So I won't talk about through all of these in detail here, but the first set are changes to the FVM's capabilities, and the last three there are prototypes of what will become FRC recommendations for standard APIs between actors. And so some basic ones to start with are tokens, NFTs, and then universal profiles is a sort of identity-based API for storing identity information. Yeah, so these are early, mostly in discussion stages. Some of them are ready for me to write the FIP now. Like if I've made the discussion more than a few weeks ago and there hasn't been much happened, then I'll go ahead and formalize it into a FIP to make it a bit more real for people. Some of these are big. Account abstraction is a big one. It's not really sorted out yet. I've only just got my thoughts out into rough form in the CryptoNet notebook, which is public if anyone's interested. But I will fix it up, clean it up, and make a discussion post soon. Yeah, I don't think I have too much more to say here. This work plan, I'm definitely looking for help on this work plan. There's a bunch of these items that I would love to be able to have someone take from me, love to partner with someone, hand over my ideas as they are, but there's also more research and more design to be done on these. So definitely would really like to hear from anyone who has a pretty solid understanding about Filecoin or the Ethereum or other chains that we're taking these ideas from. I would like to take point on one of these to help figure out the design, draw up the FIP, and implement if necessary. The other way that people can help is to review and contribute to these discussions. I try to get my stuff out into the FIP discussion forum as soon as I have reasonably well-formed thoughts. It's certainly well before I made final decisions about how I think something should work. And so the earlier that I can get alternative ideas or challenges to these ideas, the more useful that is in helping us figure out the best path forward. So particularly from implementers and anyone else interested enough to be listening to this call, discussion on the FIPS repo discussion board and in the protocol dev channel in Filecoin Slack is really, really helpful. Okay, that's it.
Thank you so much, Alex. This morning too, I let everyone know that they should be looking forward to your recording for today, so they know it's there and it'll be flagged for them after today's meeting. I did also pause on the last slide to ask that they do take a look, because there's a lot of good content in the discussion forum. I appreciate that you open up those topics as soon as you do. And I think there's also a couple of other things I've been thinking about that we can discuss off of this meeting about how we can potentially inspire some greater participation, especially on really large asks and really large changes, potentially even creating like small bounties for people to review and provide feedback and within a kind of structured way. So we can explore that if you find that you're not getting some of the help that would be most helpful as you set up design plans.
Interesting, thank you.
Mm-hmm. With that, we come to the end of our meeting. Anything else either of you would like to add or ask?
Yeah, just one question. Yeah, I will ask. I know we have this recording of this meeting, and you post this in YouTube. So I'm wondering, if we have these slides to be posted in GitHub. I say there are some links. Actually, if we can get these links and to get more information, that would be good. For the community too.
Sure. Yeah. Also, whenever there's links, I always include them in the meeting notes also, but I'd be happy to add a link to all of the slides. I'm going to just add those to the meeting notes also, rather than adding like another column to the table. But yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And one more question is that we have discussed about the network version 17, which we hope that could be upgraded soon after the network version 16, right? So currently we don't have a plan actually for that. So if we plan to have a need gap between the 16 and the 17, I think we could prepare for that as soon as possible, because we have a few FIPs to implement.
I think again the original trade-off or options were a very limited scope, very small upgrade very soon after V16, sort of the community upgrade that Jennifer described, or a very large upgrade with lots of important FIPS prior to the next milestone of the FVM, and those programmable smart contracts. It seems everyone's preference almost is the latter, so that big upgrade, which should give you 2 to 3 months before another upgrade cycle. And since the Lotus team is going to be working on a lot of the design of one of those bigger FIPS that Alex just presented on, it should give you plenty of time to sort of design your implementation and test, while also sort of monitoring any changes in the network that may come from the initial FVM introduction. That's the hope. And also both Lee on the Forest team and Jennifer have been working to create better standards and expectations around testing timelines so that they don't get squished. We know that it's a priority to make sure that you're testing thoroughly before releasing upgrades or release candidates. So we can keep it in mind too. So I think what I'm saying is that when we get to a point where we have a confirmed scope and a confirmed timeline, I think you'll be satisfied with it. But of course, you're welcome to kind of weigh in on the interim. And the best place to do that is going to be the version 17 network discussion thread that's in the TPM repo.
Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. That will be no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Anything else?
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Been great.
All right. Yeah, thanks to you both. Thanks, Alex, for putting the slides together. Very short notice, I know. I'm going to endeavor, as always, to get all of these materials uploaded as quickly as possible to the repo. A bit behind since I've been at conferences for the past couple of weeks, but want to make sure everyone has that information as well as the links to the CryptoNet Lab notebook if you want to check it out. If it's delayed and you want it more quickly, just message me and I'll make sure you get it. And otherwise, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks, if not sooner.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.